The following podcast contains spoilers for Roxanne. You have been warned.
What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of KFR News Radio. This is your host, Glenjamin Button, along with your host, Miguel Magusto.
Roxanne! You don't have to put on that red light.
That's such a good song.
I thought I killed the mood for a second. How you doing?
Not bad. I'm not bad. It's getting to be summer. Summer's that pain in the ass season
sucks.
where
I hate it.
It sucks to be in your room. It sucks to be anywhere because the more clothes you shed, it doesn't help. It just gets hot and hot and hot.
Yes.
Except for air conditioning. What a blessed thing that was. Whoever created that, kudos to that person.
Yeah, but the place that we live is old enough where very few houses actually have it built in. Mm-hmm. So, not a fan of that.
Not a
Window
fan.
units kind of do the job, but not as well.
I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah. Window units are great, but not as great as central air. But anyway, while your room has been hot, have you watched any movies lately?
I'll be honest. I rewatched 2 movies that I can't remember because they were just background things. So that's a lie. I don't remember what I watched. So joke's on me. But other than that, I watched Top Gun with you, and we did a little review on that.
Yes, we did.
Did it take our breath away? Only for you to find out.
Take my breath away.
Other than that, I had watched Roxanne, which is another song we were just singing a lot. But yeah, it's on to you, and I'm ready to hear it. I'm ready.
Yeah, so 1, 2, I watched 9 movies since the last time we recorded.
Not bad.
I've been trying to pump out, because last month I got really behind on my 1001 movies, John, going on, so I've been trying to pump them out early in the month, because it makes it easier. Yes, so the first one I watched is, it was a rewatch On the Waterfront with Marlon Brando.
Still gotta watch that.
Yeah, I could have sworn you had watched it, but then I remembered that you were talking about going to see it when it was playing at Bryn Mawr. But
I wanted to see it in theaters.
Yeah, solid movie. Rewatching it bumped up my score of it.
Ooh.
So yeah, but you can find out more of my thoughts on July 28th. This is gonna be for the July one. I'm so ahead of myself with that.
It's all right.
But then I went to the theaters with my boy. My son, my blood.
The pride and joy.
My pride and joy. And we watched The Bad Guys. Can I just say, he is definitely my son. Mm-hmm. Because most babies, or kids
genetics
his age...
aside.
genetics aside, most kids his age cannot sit still for a movie at all. Mm-hmm. Little dude stayed still the entire time.
With his dogs out.
With his dogs out, he stuck up. He had his tootsies up, barefoot tootsies. That's the only thing I'm a little iffy about. I got to teach him to keep his shoes on.
Yeah.
But he sat still. He never got up. Never asked to get up. Never talked, or he just munched on his Cheerios and watched the movie. And I that was a proud moment for me.
I'm
moment.
proud of him.
Yeah, I took so many pictures because we were the only ones in the theaters, and I cared more about his experience than actually watching the movie.
Than the actual movie.
Yeah, so it was a good time, and yeah, I can't wait to take him to more movies. Then for the 1001 movies, I rewatched The Cabin in the Woods. Great comedy horror movie. You can find out more on my thoughts in July when that episode comes out. Then for 1001 movies, I watched 5 Easy Pieces, which is a Jack Nicholson film from 1970. You can find out what I think of that later on. Then me and the baby child watched a mini-series called Prehistoric Planet, which is essentially like, it's the same people who did Blue Planet, but instead of like footage of actual living animals, they got really high-quality CGI renderings of dinosaurs and
nice.
tried to create scenes that would be relatively realistic.
Did they make them feathers yet?
Well, I'm sure that they have science to back it up. Some of them were feathered, some were not. Mm-hmm. So I'm sure that the the people, the scientists who they consulted knew which ones have feathers, or at least have proof of having feathers and which ones do not.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's that. But yeah, that's a really cool series you can watch on Apple TV Plus if you got it. Really interesting. Reminder that the Velociraptor was only 3 feet tall, and the raptors in Jurassic
And not 5.
yeah, the raptors in the Jurassic Park series are actually Utah Raptors, but that name sucks, so that's why they call them Velociraptors in the movie. Little fun fact that I tell everyone every chance I get.
Thank you. You informed.
You're welcome. Then I watched Top Gun Maverick with you. It was a lovely time. You can watch our review to find out what we thought of it on our YouTube. And then I watched a Bollywood movie for the 1001 Movies You Must See Before You Die.
Nice.
The title is called, oh God, what's it called? Help.
You got this. You got this.
Bravehearted Win the Bride or something like that. Hold on.
It's got Mel Gibson in it.
The Bravehearted Will Take the Bride. It's got Shah Rukh Khan, who is a really famous Bollywood actor, and other Bollywood actors who I'm like, I know your face, but I don't know your name. And it is the best example of a Bollywood movie that I could think of. And, you know, I'm just like to... If you want to show someone what they can expect from a Bollywood movie, you should show them this movie. Because this one was actually mildly entertaining, but it's very stereotypical Bollywood. So, yeah, if people want to know, this is a good like introduction into Bollywood that isn't like Stree or The Lunchbox, which aren't exactly as stereotypical. Stree's the horror movie we watched a couple years ago. Which only has like 2 musical numbers, not 10 or 11 or how many this had.
What was the one we just watched a couple months ago?
Hader or Hadir.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah, that one was.
solid.
Yeah, that one is also not like stereotypical because there's not much music. There is musical
True.
numbers in it, but there's not much, and it's also based on Shakespeare. But yeah, this was entertaining. But you can find out more what I thought and whether or not it stays on the list in the July episode. Then I watched a Natalie Portman Western film called Jane Got a Gun. It was written by Joel Edgerton, and he actually is in it as well. And it is a pretty good Western film. I've been
Really?
on a Western kick lately. Yeah, I mean, it's solid. It's not great. It's not horrible. It's just a solid Western film that it's not too much fluff. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I remember seeing the poster and it never had me interested.
Yeah,
Not that you should ever judge the book by its cover, but
it's hard not to with how many things we watch.
yeah.
It's hard to just like.
I'd also never seen a trailer for it. That was also the thing.
I hadn't either. I only saw the poster, and the only reason I watched it is because I like Natalie Portman. I didn't even know Joel Edgerton was in it and that he wrote it. I just know that she's in it because she's on the poster.
Yeah, true.
But yeah, solid movie. I would suggest it if you like Westerns. If not, you could probably pass it. But yeah, that's that. And then I watched Roxanne, which we're going to get into right now.
Ooh, let's get into it.
Yes.
Look at those nose cards one more time. Oh, yeah.
C.D. Bales had a small problem.
They said it was big, but I didn't expect it to be big.
He could handle every situation. Except the one that mattered most.
I'm locked out of my house.
Come on inside, I'll get some tools.
I don't have any clothes on.
Roxanne. IMDb has this fucking ad that just pops up in the middle of you scrolling, and it drives me nuts. The large-nosed C.D. Bales is in love with the beautiful Roxanne. She falls for his personality, but another man's looks. Yeah. Directed by Fred Shepsey. Shapitzi. Written by Edmund Rostan, who wrote the play for Cyrano de Bergerac. I feel like I said that right. I found it. Yeah, let's go. Screenplay was by Steve Martin. It also stars Steve Martin, Daryl Hannah, Rick Rosovich. Dude, this ad is driving me insane. It keeps popping up everywhere. Shelley Duvall's in there. John Capellos. I saw Damon Wayans, but where the hell was Damon Wayans? Was he one of the firefighters?
Yeah, he was one of the firefighters.
Damn, man. I was looking for him everywhere. I could not find him.
I mean, he's pretty young in it, so.
Yeah, understandable. But so yeah, I picked this movie because who was it? Steve, my cousin, brought it up. And he thought Adam Sandler was in this. He's like, you guys should review that one movie with the guy with the big nose. And he was completely thinking about a completely different movie.
Yeah.
And he didn't even have a big nose. He had it was something else. I don't even remember. It was like it's probably that one where he's like the Muslim character. I can't remember the name of that movie, but whatever.
Some movie where he's a Muslim character?
Now I gotta look it up, and it makes me sad. Enter the Zohan or something like that.
Oh yeah. I know what you're talking about. Where he's
probably
he's
big
a
dick
barber
is what he
or
meant.
Salon.
Yeah,
Salon.
Yeah. He's a barber named Sylvester Stallone.
I meant to say
anyway.
Salon, but
So he thought of a different movie for some reason. He's like Adam Sandler, but it was actually Roxanne with the big nose that Steve Martin has. Don't know how he made those two things connect, but he did, and here we are now. I know I had seen a lot of clips and scenes of this in my past, but never the full thing. So I thought, let's give it a go.
yes,
And yeah, we gave that thing a go.
we did. So I am not completely familiar with the original work, Cyrano de Bergerac, the play, but I recently watched the one with Peter Dinklage called Cyrano, which is slightly different. It just talks about like instead of a nose, it's just because he's a little person that he's a little worried to talk to this girl, this woman that he loves, and if anything, that makes it more serious than a guy with just a big schnoz, big Gonzula, big sniffer. But this, I was actually impressed with how, while taking place in modern times and in America and not France at all, and not during a war or anything, I was actually surprised at how many of the themes and beats that this matched with the play, or at least the Peter Dinklage one that just came out. I don't know how accurate that is, but I'm assuming, since that's based on the play as well and not not Roxanne, that it's pretty close. But like when they're like standing on the ground and yelling up to her on the second floor, and then Steve Martin just starts talking because Chris is being stupid. As usual, that happens in the play. In the play, I believe he's a captain of like an army regiment and not a fire chief, but he's still like the head honcho of people. So there's like a lot of little things like that. The C.D. Bales, CDB, Cyrano de Bergerac, CDB, same initials. Christian is the character in the play, is Christian. Roxanne's the same name as the woman in Cyrano de Bergerac. But Steve Martin did a really good job at modernizing this and making it very 80s. And kind of sticking with the themes and the character. And but it did make me it made me appreciate the Peter Dinklage one more, which, isn't a great movie. The fact that it's a musical is actually the worst part. But some of the songs are like, if you separate the songs by themselves are good, and the story by itself is good, but they don't mix well together. But yeah, this really made me miss that one because the ending of the play is so much better. It ends. Let me get a little
spoilers.
Water. Yeah, spoilers for a play that's almost 150 years old. So it ends with so this isn't in this one, but there's a character who's like a governor or something. He's a politician who is also in love with Roxanne, and he is jealous of Cyrano and Christian, so he sends them off to war and puts them on the front lines. So then they fight in a battle that's essentially a suicide mission. And Christian dies without ever being able to say goodbye to Roxanne or explaining to Roxanne what happened. And Cyrano is essentially, at least in the Peter Dinklage version, I don't know if it's in the play, is essentially like injured to the point where he can never fight again. and kind of gets sent to this hospital for the rest of his life. And then eventually he, opens up and reveals his love for Roxanne to Roxanne, and they kind of, it ends with them like kissing, but it's also like he's towards the end of his life, so a too little too late kind of situation.
Yeah.
So it's a much better story, much better ending, much more tragic, which I always like tragedies more than I like romantic comedies. But yeah, I never thought I would appreciate the Peter Dinklage Cyrano version more than I already did, which is like, it's just okay. But this made me really appreciate it because it's made me realize how good it is, other than the fact that it just shoehorns music into there that doesn't fit.
Yep. Yeah, I could also see like how, for me, like this alone made me interested in either. I mean, I wouldn't want to necessarily, you know how I am with plays, but it made me more interested in seeing either the play or a rendition of the play that wasn't a romantic comedy.
Yeah.
Because this was great. Apparently, Steve Martin was like a huge driving force in this movie. Not only was he acting in it, but he was just writing a lot of the jokes and just the screenplay. Period.
Yeah.
And I feel like he did pretty much an excellent job. There's some points there where, I mean, we'll talk about in a little bit that, I mean, it's product of the 80s and such. But like how they were in the beginning, they were really talky, and it didn't feel natural in any way. Like like people would talk to each other. But then you realize this is a play, like you said, 150 years ago, and they're just trying to transfer it over to make it, to modern times. But yeah, it made me feel like I want to watch another version of another rendition, which is kind of cool. Maybe eventually I'll get around to that.
Also in the play, Cyrano escapes a assassination attempt, which is way more interesting than just beating up a couple jerks who just got done playing around with golf.
Yeah.
But a big problem I had with this is how 80s it was, mainly with the character of Chris, because Chris is obviously misogynist in this.
Yep.
A lot of the characters are misogynist in this. I felt bad for every single woman that lived in this town.
Everybody's misogynist in this.
Like, everyone's hitting on them, saying that they remind them of Playboy models, which, women love being compared to Playboy models.
Absolutely.
Like, it's just the highest compliment you can give them. But Christian is supposed to be like, stop you in your tracks. Even guys are just like, you know what, Roxanne? I get it. I get why you're going for, like, in the Peter Dinklage version, Kelvin Harrison Jr. Plays Christian, and he's a good looking dude. In this, not that Rick Rossovich is bad looking, but I wouldn't say that like he's captivating. You know what I mean? He like Christian's supposed to be.
And he also had a big nose.
Yeah, he also had a big nose, just not a comically big one.
Yeah.
But that was my biggest thing with it. It's just like I didn't believe that Roxanne would just be like all about this big, just kind of plain looking guy. Like he's not really someone that I would expect a woman to just be like, oh, I need to meet him, Be like, oh yeah, that's a decent looking guy, whatever. So, hello, hi, how are you? Goodbye. That's what I would expect from that. So it just feels, a lot of it feels forced. Including the jokes, like especially whenever someone makes fun of his nose. Every joke about his nose feels forced. Which again, I don't know how many of the jokes are in the play. Peter Dinklage version, he doesn't have a messed up nose. It's because he's a little person that he's made fun of. So yeah, I don't know how much of the jokes are from the play and how much are from Steve Martin, but it does not translate well into 2022.
Yeah.
And not in an offensive way. It's just like, it's just not funny at all.
They're just old jokes too. Like we've heard all these jokes before. And I mean, even one of the trivias there, it said like in between takes, like he would get nice nose so often that it, like he went to a bar or like something to go to the bathroom or like change. I don't know. He did something, and somebody said, "Why the long face?" And it was like the most happy feeling when somebody made an actual original joke
Yeah.
And so, like, I guess that was probably part of the 20 plus jokes that he ended up telling. He never said that one specifically, but
Yeah.
It was probably right after that. It was like
it's pretty interesting.
it's just wild, you know.
Yeah. People in
worn
the
out
80s were
we
jerks.
become.
I mean, people are still
100%.
jerks, but like they're jerks behind keyboards and and don't say
Yeah.
things to faces. Word of advice to everyone: if you see someone that has something unique about their face, even if it's a good thing, just don't mention it. Mm-hmm. Just don't talk about it. You don't need to say everything that comes to your brain. It's a thing.
I did that the other day, actually.
What'd you do?
I've been ever since I went on the cruise. I've been trying to, like, you know, just kind of compliment people. I don't know why. It's just a little clear, like, just at least like maybe once a day. Try to compliment somebody, like, and make their day brighter. And I saw this mom and daughter, and their hair was like super curly, and I was like, I love your guys' hair. And then I walked away.
Yeah.
Super weird.
If you walk
Very
away,
nice.
I feel like, you know, it makes
All
it.
I did was like, hey guys, I just want to say I love your hair. And they were both like, oh my God, thank you. I'm like, hey,
Yeah.
no problem. And then I walked the fuck away from their lives.
Well, that's the thing. Like, they can choose what to do with their hair. So I feel like complimenting something on something that someone chooses is fine. But like, if it's something that like someone has a big
Yeah.
nose, don't talk about it.
Don't talk about
Someone's
that
got
big
a
nose.
marked face. Don't talk about it. If someone's short, don't talk about it unless you're like really close to them, because people say I'm tall all the time, so naturally I call them short. Kind of the only time I gave someone a compliment, I didn't mean to, it just kind of came out, but then I got such a like. This person made me feel old. At the movie theater. There's a concessionist. Her name, I probably shouldn't say her name, but it was named after a band that is from like the late 90s, early 2000s. And I said, oh, I really like your name. Not making that connection yet, but I was like, oh, that's a very unique name. And she said, thanks. My parents named me after a really old band. And I was just like, I grew up listening to them.
gonna punch
It's not,
you.
They're not that old. They're not that old. I'm still young.
You leave me alone, damn it. My age.
Yeah, but that kind of that made me laugh. But this movie, I don't know. I didn't really find it that funny. Like, there's parts that were funny, but like I don't think it aged very well.
Yeah, I think, like you said, it did feel kind of forced in a way. Maybe at the time it wasn't as forced. Like, even like Steve Martin was great, but like if this was, you know, almost 40 years ago, not almost 40 years ago. Actually, oh my fucking God, it is almost 40 years ago.
Hey,
40
this
40
is only
years
2
ago.
years before I was born. You shut your goddamn
Six
mouth.
years before I was born.
You shut your goddamn mouth, Glenn. I'm
But
still in my 30s.
40 years ago, I'm sure, you know, this role and, you know, all the things that happened were probably good, but now it just feels like, oh, like even like the beginning, like when he's just walking down the street, it feels kind of weird, like it is being forced.
The credits are super 80s.
Yeah.
It just jumps into it and makes it super awkward. And like, no one would just walk past someone and immediately start fighting with them, like arguing with them. Like even in
Yeah.
the 80s, that wouldn't happen.
Sadly, a product of its time for sure.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it's fucking, it creeps me out that, you know, one like played as the other person and was like, oh, let's I'll write the letters and you can just get in her pants. That's so fucking weird to me. And then she actually does it.
Yeah.
And then she's like, I didn't want him. I wanted you. No, fuck that. To me,
Yeah.
that's like, no, fuck that. You didn't want me before.
It's classier in the play. At least, again,
Yeah.
the Peter Dinklage one.
Yeah,
In
that-
that one, the scene where he kind of takes over speaking for him under the balcony. So the same thing happens where Chris climbs up the balcony into her room, but they don't do anything. There just like happens to be a priest there. I forget how it happens. It's more smooth in the actual movie play thing, but there's a priest there, or at least nearby, and they get married. But then like right after they get married, the jealous politician comes in and says that they're going to war. So and again, things back then, because the play takes place in the late 1700s, I think, maybe even late 1600s.
Yeah.
Romance moved a lot faster back then because people were so like, oh, we can't have sex until marriage.
I can't see those ankles. Put them away, please.
At least in like Puritan areas. But so it's not as weird in the play / Peter Dinklage version.
Yeah, and then this one, what did they say, that they slept with each other twice, and then
he said he couldn't finish the third time.
Yeah, I couldn't finish the third time, and then like this, she's like, I didn't want him. It was you I wanted this whole time, because I wasn't speaking to him. I was speaking to you, Steve Martin, and I was like, fuck that.
Yeah, you knew him and his words before.
No matter what they did. You can't forgive them for that. He helped this guy sleep with a woman by acting as him, literally standing in as him.
Oh, yeah.
Can't blame her for that. It was gross. But to say what she said after that, that's a big fuck that to me. Especially, they were best friends before they, whatever. They were really close before those two hooked up. And I was like, dude, what the unforgivable on both ends. I didn't like that.
I don't think in reality she would be as cool with it. Like, I think she would just stop talking to both of them.
Yeah.
Again, only because it's based on the same thing. I'm comparing this to the play / Peter Dinklage version.
It's the only
Decades
thing we have to go
by, or at least like many years go by before after Christian dies, before he reveals that it was him. So there's a little more breathing room.
Yeah, this was like 6 days.
Yeah,
and then
it's
they had
so
one
much,
day break.
It's so much smoother in the play / Peter Dinklage version. And I'll keep saying / because I've never read the play, so I don't know how much has changed. But I assume it's much closer than this is. But yeah, very weird overall. Didn't care for it personally, but
Yeah.
that's all I really got to say.
That's how it goes.
Yeah.
I feel like the same as well, for the most part. I thought I probably like it a little more than you, but overall, mainly anything that didn't have to do with Chris or Roxanne, and just Steve Martin interacting with the town around him. That was the best part.
The background work of the firefighters was hilarious. Like,
Absolutely hilarious.
Like, they would be on the second floor window, and you would just see one of them like riding a hose up, and then going back down, and then riding the hose up. It's so stuff like that was really funny. But
and there was one character. I feel like it was John Capellos who played as Chuck. I feel like it might have been him. Oh no, wait, it was Michael J. Pollard. Where he played, I'm sorry for using such a sensitive word, one of the slower firefighters.
Yeah.
And just, you never saw him, like, do certain things, but he would always be, like, this prime human being. Like, he did read the poetry, but he went in to make Chris get the book because he was too embarrassed to get the book. And then he knocked somebody the fuck out in a boxing, thing, but we never saw it. Because of what was going on with Roxanne and CD.
Yeah.
It's just funny. Everything around the initial story, I think, was funny.
Yeah.
But other than that, that's really all I've got to say.
Yeah. I would agree. But yeah, that does it for our review. That brings us to the judgment. As always, it needs to be a unanimous decision whether or not it goes on the KFR shelf with the likes of Apostle and Handmaiden. Glenn, you picked it. So you get to go first.
I would say not a complete waste of time. I thought it was fun in some places, but overall, I don't think it would be on a shelf as far as any of our other romantic comedies, which I don't know how many we even have on the shelf goes.
We've been doing too many lately.
Yeah.
And honestly, the fact that we don't have a lot is probably my fault because I really, really do not care for romantic comedies.
I have to balance it out.
Yeah, you do have to balance it out.
I'm trying.
So, yeah, I would agree. I didn't hate it. I didn't love it. I gave it a 2.5 out of 5, right down the middle. You said it very well. Like, the things that's happening behind the plot are way more interesting than the plot itself. I give it a little extra credit for making me appreciate the Cyrano musical that Peter Dinklage is in, but that's only because this is so much worse than that. And I think if people watched this before they watched Cyrano, they would have been easier on Cyrano.
Yeah, I'm also super curious if Steve Martin did all those acrobatics to get up and down the house.
Definitely did not do all of them because there are some where it's very. I watched it on my projection screen, so I was very. I saw a lot of it, and it's very obviously a stunt double at some of it.
Okay.
I mean, Steve Martin is talented. I don't think he's that talented though. But yeah, it's a no for me as well. So Roxanne does not make it on the KFR shelf with the likes of Apostle and Handmaiden. It does not become a little shelf boy.
Sad.
It doesn't go in the trash either. It's just
in
we're moving on.
Area.
We're taking it back to Blockbuster. R.I.P. So that brings us to our assignment for next week. It is Streaming Roulette Week, which we have been actually doing pretty good with lately. We haven't had any too terrible things coming from that. So for those of you who don't know how it works, we spin this very real physical wheel that has every single movie on all the streaming services we subscribe to. It's physical, it's real and physical. It's very large. We spin it 3 times and then pick the one that piques our interest the most. So without any further ado, here comes the first spin. Also, it has to be at least a year old, so 2021 is when it had to come out. And without any further ado, Stories We Tell. It is a documentary from 2012. Oh my gosh, I can't type right now.
I literally spelled sorties.
Sorties We Tell. Okay, so
it's on YouTube, Roku, Amazon.
Freevee. Oh, help! I didn't mean to go that way.
Help!
Help!
No.
So yeah, apparently it is on Criterion, Freevee, and Roku. It is a documentary, a film that excavates layers of myth and memory to find the elusive truth at the core of a family of storytellers. So close to getting that perfect. So close to getting that perfect. It is directed by Sarah Polley, directed by Sarah Polley, written by Sarah Polley and Michael Polley. It is starring Michael Polley, John Buchan, Mark Polley, Joanna Polley. It seems like a little family affair. So that is the Stories We Tell, or just Stories We Tell, and that is available on Criterion, Freevee, and Roku. And you said YouTube as well?
Mm-hmm. It said free on YouTube as well.
Oh,
hopefully
interesting.
It actually is.
Yeah, so that is our first movie. Spin number 2. Here it comes. Ghost Town with the not dickish at all Ricky Gervais.
Yes,
I've seen this before.
I have not seen this one before.
It's on HBO Max. Ghost Town. Bertram Pincus is a man whose people skills leave much to be desired. When Pincus dies unexpectedly but is miraculously revived after 7 minutes, he wakes up to discover that he now has the annoying ability to see ghosts. It is directed by David Coop, written by David Coop and John Camp, starring Ricky Gervais, Greg Kinnear, Tia Leone, and Jordan Carlos. And that is Ghost Town on HBO and Amazon.
Hulu and Amazon Prime.
Yeah. Ooh, look at that.
And Roku, apparently. Premium.
Yeah. So that is Ghost Town. Here comes spin number 3. Constantine.
Oh, shit. My boy?
Yeah, your boy.
I just watched this recently, too.
Oh, yeah?
Well, it was like a bedtime, like go to bed and try to,
This is going to be available on HBO Max and I'm sure other places. Supernatural exorcist and demonologist John Constantine helps a policewoman prove her sister's death was not a suicide, but something more. Directed by Francis Lawrence, based on the comic book Hellblazer by Jamie Delano and Garth Ennis, and the story is by Kevin Broadbent, the story of the movie. And then the screenplay is by Kevin Broadbent and Frank A. Capello, or Frank Acapello.
Who knows?
Starring Keanu Reeves, Rachel Weisz, Shia LaBeouf, Jimon Hansu, Max Baker, Pruitt Taylor Vince. Tilda Swinton's in there, Peter Stormare, whole bunch of people. So that is our third pick. We have Constantine, Ghost Town, and Stories We Tell. If I'm honest, I don't think supporting Ricky Gervais during Pride Month would be a good thing. So I don't think we should do Ghost Town.
Is he like anti-gay?
He has been making transphobic jokes on his new comedy special. I personally have not listened to them, so I'm just going off of what I've heard. But I don't think that now is the right time to be watching a Ricky Gervais movie.
Well, I haven't heard those jokes, but I will say that I don't care for that movie in the slightest. But I feel like my vote is for Stories We Tell. Although
really?
I could talk the shit out of Constantine. I will. Did you watch Constantine yet?
Yeah, I've seen Constantine.
I was about to say. I'll rewatch Constantine. I have no problems with this.
Oh, man. I am leaning Constantine, personally.
Let's talk about Constantine.
Okay, we're going to do Constantine.
I am going to put Stories We Tell on the shelf, though, because I kind of do want to watch
Yeah, likewise. If I'm every now and then we got to make something that's a smart business move for the podcast.
Understandable.
And I don't think Stories We Tell will draw a lot of people in, but Constantine might.
It will.
So, yes. So, Constantine is our assignment for next week. You can catch that on HBO Max and I'm sure a bunch of other things. Check out Real
Pretty sure
Good.
it's on Netflix, too.
Yeah, check out realgood.com. It's a good website that will tell you what all the surfaces that any given movie is on. It'll also tell you if it's not available on anything or if it's just rent or buy. So Constantine is on a bunch.
Sure about this?
No.
Mr. Constantine, I'd like to ask you a few questions. I know the circles you travel in, the occult, exorcisms.
Easy there, hero. That's Dragon's Breath.
I thought you couldn't get it anymore.
I'm a liar. I know a guy who knows a guy.
I thought that you could at least point me in the right direction.
Yeah, okay, sure.
Please.
That is our assignment for next week. Thank you, everyone, for listening. As always, you can check out our website at www.keystonefilmreview.com. On Instagram, we are Keystone_Film_Review. Twitter, Keystone_Film. Facebook, Keystone Film Review. YouTube, Keystone Film Review. TikTok, Keystone Film Review. And on Letterboxd, I am Mike KFR.
And I am Glenn, KFR.
And that will do it until next week when we watch Constantine. I don't know why I did that. I'm very
I
sorry.
don't know why it sounded like you were the like the Peter Storm. Peter Stormare. Yeah.
Stormare?
Stormare.
I forget who he plays in this. Satan. Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye-bye.